Welcome everybody to the Super Mario Brothers All-Stars All for Any Percent Tournament. I am your host Tecate, and alongside of me I have Play with Penelope, aka Penny. How you doing, Penny?
Hello. Hope you're having a good night so far.
Yeah. Got an interesting start time for you Americans. It's probably a little more comfortable for all of our Japanese friends across the pond, but we have an exciting matchup tonight between roopert83, our tournament organizer, and theelderspork, one of our other tournament commentators. This is actually an elimination matchup between the number 6 seed roopert and the number 8 seed theelderspork. Roopert had a pretty interesting race in his previous match against LK. You want to talk about that a little bit, Penny?
Yeah, I'll say. I think it was literally in the last second.
That's right.
It slipped out of his hands.
Yep. Looks like they are underway, and they're actually going to be running a bit of a different order than we've been seeing in a lot of the races. Instead of going in chronological order, they're going to start with SMB3 and get those hands out of the way. Then they're going to go over to SMB2U, then SMB2J, and then SMB1. So that's the order that they will be playing these, and both of them nice and clean through 1-1. So, Penny, I think it's an interesting decision to start with SMB3. We could see a pretty big separation between these two just with hands RNG.
Yeah, I think getting the hands out of the way early is a smart decision, because then you know how aggressive you have to go for the rest of the games.
For sure. So right now they are just aiming to collect a couple power-ups and some warp whistles. So the first warp whistle that they will get is here in 1-3, and we see elderspork making his power-up grab. And what they're going to do is they're going to duck on this white platform here, and that's going to actually let them fall kind of behind the scene here, as you see Roopert has done. And I'll take them behind this curtain where they can pick up the first warp whistles, the first of the two warp whistles. The second of the two will be in the World 1 fort. So far, go ahead.
We'll note that, as with many games, they're playing the Japanese version because it's faster.
Yeah, definitely. So this is faster than the American release of this version of the game. And of course, when we get to Lost Levels, this will be the first time that the Americans had ever gotten access to the original, to a made-for-them version of Lost Levels, and that was on the SNES version. But Lost Levels, of course, was originally released as SMB2 in Japan for the Famicom Disk System. But hey, we already got Roopert warping into World 8, nice and clean so far, and hot on his tail is theelderspork. So now it is time to get your resident sleepers out. We've got some auto-scrollers. Penny, what do you think of the auto-scrollers?
Take a little nap.
That's right. Yeah, let's get a little nap in there. I mean, it is pretty late if you're on the East Coast. It's getting late if you're on the West Coast like me, the best coast. There we go. We got some resident sleepers there in chat. So one of the main things that you don't want to do in the airships or in the auto-scrollers is get too casual and lose your concentration and take an unneeded hit here. You really want to make sure you keep your power-ups. We see Spork actually has the tail, whereas Roopert's just Big Mario. Either strategy is fine. Of course, with the tail, theelderspork just opting for that little bit of extra ability to float around if you wanted to. So just a little bit different strategies, and whatever each runner is comfortable with is the strategy that they'll take. You can't really say there's a right strategy or a wrong strategy. It's just in these tournaments, especially in races, you got to go with what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely that buffer of the physics where if you as opposed to hard dropping into a bomb, you can float away, because we know that we all kind of nod off on the auto scrollers, even the runners.
Oh yeah. This is really the kind of the calm before the storm, and we're gonna have another auto scroller after this, and then it's the hands. So we're gonna Roopert, nice dodge on the boomerang there. no trouble for him. And Spork will be coming up to the Hammer Brother as well, the Boomerang Brother, I guess it is, and makes easy work of him as well. So now they're on to the second auto-scroller. We're going to watch Roopert try to grab this Fire Flower here, I believe.
Good old boat fire.
Nope. That didn't go quite as planned there, so he took a hit trying to get up to the Fire Flower, which turned him into Small Mario. Grabbing the Fire Flower turned him back to Big Mario, and descending, he took another hit and back to Small Mario. So not the position he exactly wants to be in. It'll be okay. He'll still be able to grab power-ups and be able to get Fire Flower before he gets to Bowser, but certainly a little bit of time lost there just by all those different animations. Then you'll have to go and grab extra power-ups. So that will cost him some time, which will allow the Elder Spork to catch up. Spork, meanwhile, as we can see, has taken the bottom route. He is swimming underneath these ships here.
That's an interesting route to take. I mean, I understand it. If you're not going for the boat fire, why not just take a leisurely little swim through the level?
Yeah, it's swimming through the spaghetti sauce, I guess. Probably pretty tasty for an Italian plumber, huh?
I think that was retconned away, sadly.
Alright, so Roopert facing Boom Boom, and he doesn't get the fire kill Boom Boom here either, so that's one of the other disadvantages of not getting fire. Of course, Spork doesn't have fire as well, so he will be stomping Boom Boom, so that's going to be neutral as far as those two go. And now it's time to guess the number of hands. Penny, what are you guessing for Roopert and Spork?
1 and 2.
I'm saying 1 and 1.
That
Roopert
would be
gets
nice.
1. So Roopert got the third hand. Spork gets the first hand. Definitely not what he wants to see because there's still 2 more hands to go for him. And each of these hands take about 20 or even more seconds to get through the level. So yeah, that's going to be a tough start there for Spork. Hopefully he can avoid 2 more hands. Each one of these hands is a 50-50 proposition, so he's still got a 25% chance of getting all the way through. But unfortunately, he gets the second hand as well, so looks like your prediction of 1 and 2 might be coming true.
I'm pretty decent at guessing this. I don't know why. And it's never worked when I play the lottery. But it works in the chat.
That's right. Will the Elder Spork get 3 hands? He does, unfortunately. Not what you want to see. If you do the math there, and we know I'm not that good at math, but I think it's a 1 in 8 chance of getting all 3 hands, right? So 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. So a 1 in 8 chance of getting all 3 hands, unfortunately for Spork. And
he actually almost ate it on the Air Force there.
Yeah, Spork actually took a death and then ended up not getting the third hand. So the death isn't what you want to see, but getting to skip that third hand actually helps in a little bit. So he may have actually benefited from that. So that was kind of a unfortunate but fortunate situation there for Spork. All right, Roopert taking the star in 8-1, which is a nice strategy to be able to quickly get through the beginning of 8-1. Now let's see how he plays the rest of it. Excellent P-speed strats here, and nice and clean 8-1 for Roopert heading into 8-2. Meanwhile, Spork making his way through the airship and into the final pipe, and now he will get to face Boom Boom. So Roopert, very interesting strategy here. He took the tail that he got from one hand that he had and used that to power up, and then took an intentional damage boost there. So that damage that he took was on purpose to allow him to get through the beginning of 8-2 a little bit faster. And that damage boost is okay because he still has to grab the Fire Flower anyway. So that was a smart decision there by Roopert. Meanwhile, Spork going through the beginning of 8-1. And nicely done with the Fire Flower there. Oh! And Roopert plummets down a 1-tile gap there. So that'll allow Spork to catch up just a little bit, and Rupert's in a little bit of a situation here where he's going to need to grab 2 power-ups. There's the first one.
Ooh, Spork loses his power-up.
There will be another one elsewhere that Rupert can grab as well, and so now he is fully powered up into Fire Mario. So it's always good to know where your power-ups are, especially for races, and the quickest and fastest ways to get them, because there is a third power-up as well here where he could grab Fire Flower, but it's a little bit slower, so Rupert making good use of knowledge of the game, of where all the power-ups are located.
Well, Rupert has a solid history as a racer. Before anything else, he used to race and not RTA. He only started RTAing when the racing scene died off, so he knows all of these safety strats and backup strats, and he's very good at adapting.
For sure. And Spork is through 8-2. Now it's his turn to head over to the fort that Rupert is currently in and facing Boom Boom. And again, that's why you want the Fire Flower here, because you get to fire kill Boom Boom. So Spork will be grabbing the Fire Flower. He's got a little bit of iframes there from his star that he had as well. He's going to have to dodge the waffles. Does so. And makes his way out of the first room here in the fort. So Rupert employing the famous Oglib strategy where you just hold right and mash the B button if you have the Fire Flower or a tail, and that'll just let you kind of clear through this most of this auto scroller very, very easily. Of course, you may pick up a bomb or whatever, but then you just throw it quickly off screen, and that's the strategy. And very, very nice strategy. Makes this auto scroller pretty much. I don't like to use the word too frequently, but pretty free. I hope Rupert doesn't get too mad at me for saying that.
Only if he loses the fire.
That's right. No commentator's curse, please. And Spork right on Rupert's heels here. So they're both in the last auto-scroller. So once we're through this, we're through the auto-scrollers, y'all. So it's about time to wake up and get ready to fight Bowser, and then we go on to SMB2U. So that's the order they have chosen. This is actually pretty interesting because Spork got like 2.5 hands, and Rupert only had 1 hand. So Rupert enters at 11:33 into the castle, and we'll see at what time Elder Spork enters into the castle as well. They're just a tiny bit desynced on their timers, so we'll just have to go by castle entry time. Yeah, Rupert, great clip there. And then we're going to see another clip here, but this is the easiest clip in the game.
It's free.
It's free, that's right.
It's so free, I can do it.
Even Penny can do it. There we go. I probably can't do it.
Bad. No, you can do it.
Alright, so Rupert got to make sure he keeps fire here. That was unfortunately his downfall in the previous round. So Spork enters at 12:21, and Rupert entered at 33. So that's about a 48-second difference. So that's about the not quite the 1.5 hand difference that they had between them. Rupert a little bit cleaner through the run. Spork getting a bit unlucky with the extra hands, but overall still a pretty close matchup. 48 seconds apart is not a huge difference, especially if you take an untimely death. Rupert could, if Rupert takes an untimely death or has some issues, Spork will be right back in this. So definitely not game over yet by any means for either runner. So now it's Spork's turn to go to town on Bowser. Get those fireballs in there. Yeah, 35 I think it is.
Somewhere in the 30s.
In that 30 range. And Spork, nicely done.
Taking it nice and safe.
Yeah, smart strategy there. You don't want to lose your fire.
You don't want to pull a Rupert.
No, you certainly don't. But losing Fire Flower there would be tragic because then you have to wait for Bowser to break the bricks, and that just takes forever. So number one thing, especially if you're starting with SMB3, is making sure you don't lose fire against Bowser.
I'm unsure of this Luigi strategy for 1-1. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if it was a mispick.
I don't know. I mean, I think Rupert does tend to prefer Luigi, but that may have been a bit of a misclick there for him. But Sport
Yeah,
going with the Toad strat.
Yeah, I don't feel like he goes for key skip and races. And so normally he'd pick Toad for that level. So I'm a little confused.
So
We grab
Rupert
fast carpet,
going,
we're through.
yeah, fast carpet, and not going for the key kill here in 1-2, which would be the Luigi strategy. So it's cool because there's lots of different strategies you can employ in SMB2U just by picking different characters. And so both of them chosen so far to stick with Toad, or I should say Rupert in 1-1, of course, chose Luigi, but in 1-2 Toad, Spork in 1-1, and that's because Toad is fast when he is holding an object, a heavy object. It'll allow him to go faster, so that's why we pick Toad in a lot of these scenarios. And in 1-3, you're also going to pick Toad because you're just going to fly through the level. And Spork actually choosing to go with Luigi in 1-2, so all sorts of different strategies here. And the advantage of using Luigi in this one is a lot of the jumps are easier, and also now you can do what's called the key kill here on Birdo, which would be a quicker kill than having to wait on him shooting all those different eggs. So you can actually gain a Birdo cycle here, which is about 256. It's 256 frames every time he shoots an egg, or about 4 seconds. So you see the nice key kill there from Spork, and he is making his way into 1-3. Meanwhile, Rupert warped into World 4 and then actually did what's called a save and quit, which is where he exited the game and then went back into World 3. And that's because in the SNES version of this game, as long as you've gotten to a world, so in this case he got to 4-1, you can go back to any previous level prior to World 4, which is something you cannot do in the NES version. So he saved and quit and goes back to 3, and then from 3 he will end up warping to 5, but first he's got to get through a couple levels here.
Yeah, don't try it in the NES version. It'll be nothing but despair.
Exactly. So Rupert in a very cool level, platforming, a couple tight jumps, and on one of those jumps you want to hold the A button down because Luigi will actually descend less quickly. If you actually let go of the A button, Luigi will descend quicker and he won't actually make the jump on that really one really tight jump. So just a bit of a technique there that you need to use in SMB2U. And now Spork is warping over to World 5. So now both players are in World 5. So this is the Luigi section of the game, huh?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, I get it because it seems like they've perfectly planned these levels for Luigi.
Yeah, a lot of them they really have. And Spork, nicely done on the tight jump there for Luigi. Rupert, meanwhile, doing these vine climbs, these vine jumps, I should say. And this is a trick where you're holding, left or right, and you're jumping off the vine. Luigi has about an 8-frame window to do it, depending on the way that you do it. There's a couple different techniques that you can use, but Luigi with an 8-frame window to make those vine jumps, so it makes it relatively comfortable to use him in these particular levels.
Yeah, everybody else only has 3.
Exactly. So Toad or Princess or Mario only have 3-frame windows, and Rupert actually taking a hit there to Birdo. He's going to have to be very careful here. Birdo is really tough. There's the fish. Birdo can sometimes throw fire, as you see there. There's a gap. So it's a really treacherous Birdo fight, but Rupert escapes clean through after taking the first fireball of damage. But of course, that didn't cost him too much time, and it didn't cost him a life. So nice fight there from Rupert against Birdo. Now it's Spork's turn to do the vine climbs. He's making his way up. Meanwhile, Rupert will be warping to World 7. And this will be the final world of SMB2U. There's just 7-1 and 7-2 left for Rupert, and then he'll fight Warped at the end of 7-2.
It's almost vegetable time.
That's right. Feed that, what was he, a toad, I guess? Feed
I
that.
think that's what he's supposed to be. Like, yeah.
Feed that
Warp
guy some
frog.
vegetables. All right, Spork going up against Birdo. Gets the first hit in there. And gets the second hit, and now he will go for the bird hit. I mean the fish hit. I said bird. Fish hit on the Birdo. And nicely done. Good fight there for Elder Spork on Birdo. All right, Roopert in a fight against Green Birdo, and these are always tough because he only shoots, this Birdo only shoots fire. So you have to get all 3 hits in there with that little mushroom block. And Roopert using a little bit of a trick where if you pick up the mushroom block at just the right time, that picking up animation will make it so that you can't get hit by Birdo's fire there. We did see Roopert take 1 hit, but again, in this game, you're allowed to take a hit, kind of just like SMB1 if you have mushroom, for example, and that'll just turn you into a smaller state. And Roopert was able to use that to his advantage and not die. So now he's into the final level. He's going to do what we call the chain jump here to kind of skip over the level. So this is just like the ladder jump, but this is where we talk about the 3-frame window, and he gets it on the second try there. And that'll let him get up to the top here and skip a bunch of this level. And then he'll drop down the final chain here to continue on in the level. Meanwhile, Spork 1 level behind Roopert, so still a pretty close race. And if Roopert were to have a tough warp fight here, and we've seen that in the past from Roopert in in PB attempts or various other things, the warp fight is not guaranteed. So that could catch Spork right back up.
Yeah, the warp fight is it's tricky because it's tight timing when you want to do it quickly.
Absolutely.
You can have all these patterns memorized, but if you mess up the timing, then you lose the cycle.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was gonna say is you know where the vegetables are gonna come, but if you don't get the timing right as far as the bubbles and warp open in his mouth and stuff like that, it can go to heck really quick.
The Japanese players have an awesome strategy with jumping to keep the time, and I feel like I see them with the tightest timing on the fight.
Definitely, I agree. But really clean fight for Roopert. Gets every single throw. Perfect fight for Roopert on Wart, and he going for the fanfare skip. Doesn't quite get it, so he'll just have to sit through a little bit of a fanfare, and he's in the door, and now he can start SMB Lost Levels, or SMB 2J as it's called, stateside.
To answer the chat, yes.
All right, so Spork's turn to face Wart, and Roopert taking a death in 1-1 of Lost Levels. 1-1 is actually one of the tougher levels in the speedrun because you haven't powered up or anything, and there's a lot of piranha tight jumps. It's deceptively tricky, 1-1 is for Lost Levels, and Roopert has actually, and I believe we'll see the same thing from Spork, but they both prefer Luigi in Lost Levels for speedrun in this game. So instead of using Mario, they're both going with Luigi, and that's because Mario and Luigi do have different physics in SMB Lost Levels. Luigi jumps a little bit higher, he accelerates a little bit slower, and he stops a little bit slower as well than his red bro Mario.
Spork having a little trouble with the warp fight, but getting through. But
yeah,
Luigi for Lost Levels is just better. Okay, that's where we're at.
And Spork, I think he got the. Yeah, I think I am. But
there's 3 of us and 1 of you.
Yeah, well, to each their own, I guess. You're all wrong. Spork got the fanfare skip, I believe. A little bit of a time save relative to Roopert at the end of that wart fight there. But thankfully for Spork, doesn't take a death or anything like that. Like I said, had a little bit of trouble, but nothing major. And he doesn't take a death where Roopert did in 1-1. So he's going to make up some extra time on Roopert there as well in 1-1 of Lost Levels. Roopert, meanwhile... Oh yeah, super close.
This is still definitely a very close race. This is a lot tighter than you probably think just looking at it.
Yeah, especially with lost levels. This is a very a lot of things can go wrong in this for either runner. So you know, if things go wrong for Roopert, this game is right back within striking distance for Spork.
Not that Rupert's weak in any of the games, but of the four, this is his what I would consider his weakest game.
Because it's the hardest one.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a very trolly speed run. Fortunately, oh no! And Spork takes a death. Doesn't quite make that platform there, and that is not the room you want to take a death in because you have to go all the way back to the beginning of 1-2. You don't get to hit a checkpoint if you take a death in that second room of 1-2. So that was a really untimely death for Spork there, but. Just keep pressing on, and you never know what'll happen. I was going to say 4-1 and 4-2 are kind of the easier levels in the speedrun, so Roopert just passed the easiest part of the speedrun as far as this particular game. So Spork making it onto the platform this time, and now it's time for the climb. And he climbs nicely, and we'll head on in 4-1. Meanwhile, Roopert in our first castle level of this speedrun, 4-4, I should say of this particular game. Not too scary, especially compared to the FDS version, because the Potaboos in this always have the same height. They always go all the way to the top, whereas in the FDS version of this, the Potaboos are a variable height here. So this Potaboo right there would be much more treacherous on the FDS version. But on this version, always to the top, and Roopert gets a fully backward Bowser, is able to recognize that, and then jumps right over Bowser to make nice work of 4-4 heading into World 5.
Yeah, this version definitely has a lot of changes. It's a lot less frustrating. It's still very, very hard, but it did have some things that were made less frustrating.
And there's a couple things that are more frustrating, like the Hammer Brothers build, the lack of despawns, and the hitboxes. So it's a trade-off. You know, I definitely think some levels on this version are harder than the FDS version, and then some levels of the FDS version are easier, or are harder, I should say. So there's trade-offs, and kind of like the characters with Luigi and Mario, it's all down to preference. And either way, the game is just incredibly fun. We'll see if Roopert gets the super jump. He had it, but I think he just had maybe a touch too much speed there. And so Luigi didn't get the full height that he needed to get all the way to the top. That super jump is physics that was introduced in SMB Lost Levels relative to SMB 1. You bounce off of enemies higher, and if you're at walking speed, you'll bounce really high. So Roopert may have just gained a little too much speed to get all the way to the top there. But we did get to see the demonstration of the physics. Just didn't quite pull it off completely. That's right, Mars saying in chat that's exactly what happened to him in his race yesterday. So something that can easily happen, especially in the SNES version of Lost Levels. Roopert with a great vine climb there, so fast that he was above the vine.
Love to know how the physics of that work.
Oh, and Spork taking a death to the Bowser Fire. That's another trolley aspect of 4-4. We talked about Potaboo in this version is always the same height, but those Bowser Fire Flames can be at variable heights, and you just got to make sure if you get the one that's right on that block where Luigi is supposed to land, that you avoid hitting that fire. And Roopert, meanwhile, getting past the Hammer Bro section at 8-1 is a very scary section because if they troll you, very often you have to employ a safety strat where you go all the way to the left side of the screen and just wait them out, and that's going to be a big time loss. So Roopert avoids the big time loss. Spork, meanwhile, retrying 4-4. And as I was saying, if you hit that fire from Bowser, it's not like the NES version where the hitbox is a little broken. The hitbox is fixed in this, and that's one of the things I was saying about the SNES version that makes it a little bit harder is the fixed hitboxes compared to the FDS version. But Spork now is through 4-4 as Roopert makes his way up the vine in 8-2 and on to 8-3. And thankfully for Roopert, he didn't have to do one of those dramatic saves where he's almost fallen in the pit and then magically bounces off the Koopa to save himself. There's a good clip on his channel of him doing that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff only happens in RTAs.
That's right. All right, so roopert83, Spork is making his way up to the super jump area. We'll see if he goes for the jump or if he goes for the climb. Not sure what his preferred strategy is here, if he thinks super jump's a little risky for race strats, but we're about to find out. Oh, nicely done. That was excellent, and he actually employed a different strategy than Roopert, as Roopert takes a death in 8-3 with woo!
Right off the platform.
Yeah, so Spork actually employed a different strategy than Roopert. He went over the first Koopa and then off the second Koopa, whereas Roopert kind of waits out the first Koopa, goes under him, and then off the second Koopa as well. So different ways to do the super jump as well. And Roopert this time makes it through 8-3 while Spork is in 5-2. So now we're into the castle level, the final castle for Lost Level. The first part is very tricky. We'll see what Roopert goes for here. Okay, he takes it safe. Probably a smart race strategy move there. In PB attempts, especially if you're on pace, you'll go for a faster version of the stairs there, but that is very treacherous, especially with Luigi. It's a little bit easier with Mario. With Luigi, it's a lot harder. So Roopert wisely going for the safer strategy there. Now he's in the G room, through the G room. Oh my goodness, Spork!
Oh my gosh!
Good dodges on the Hammer Bros there. They trolled him a little bit, but he didn't have to go full safety strat, so he didn't lose much time at all. Well done, Spork. And Roopert coming up to our good friend Bruce here. We'll see if Bruce is a bro for Roopert. Now Bruce going backward.
Mean Bruce.
Yeah, well, what was that all about, Bruce? Come on, man. And on to Bowser. Hopefully Bowser doesn't troll him too hard. Nope, and touches the axe, and now he will go on to SMB1. Meanwhile, Spork making his way into 8-3, so just 2 levels behind Roopert here as Roopert heads into Super Mario Bros. 1, where all of this madness started. So this is the game we have to blame for all of this madness.
Redone with smiley graphics and cheerful underground music.
That's right. So no option of taking Luigi. Well, I guess you could take Luigi, but you'd have to play Luigi in this version, and there's no physics differences, so there's no point in selecting Luigi in SMB1. But Spork, meanwhile, gets the moving elevator and is in 8-4. So we'll see what strategy he goes for. Roopert grabs the fire flower in 1-2, and now he's going to come to this tight section. This can get a little trolly if you, depending on the strategy you use. Good strategy there by Roopert to get past that tough section of 1-2. A little bit of a slowdown there, a bonk on the pipe, but nice work in 1-2 for Roopert, and he makes his way into the easiest level of the whole speedrun of all 4 games, I would think. This is probably the easiest level for the speedrunners. And the swag spiny kill, I like it. Roopert showing off. All right, it is Spork's turn to come to the double Koopa jump here before we get to see Bruce. And now it's everybody time to say hi to Bruce for Spork. And let's see if Bruce is a bro for Spork. Oh yeah, what a bro. Bruce, my man.
You can tell who Bruce wants to win.
That's right. I kind of want Spork to win too, based off of the previous conversation we had.
Right.
Not that I'm rooting against Roopert, but I'm rooting against Roopert.
I mean, we are. We all are.
But Roopert is actually having a very nice wrong warp in 4-2. So normally you want to reveal the vine and climb the vine in 4-2, but a faster way to do that is to get Mario pushed over to the right side of the screen and take a pipe And by doing that, by not scrolling the screen far enough, going down that pipe still thinks you're going up the vine, and it kind of tricks the game, and then you don't have to wait for the vine animation. So that wrong warp is faster. So Spork is now in SMB1. He's making his way into 1-2, and Roopert in 8-1 takes a hit there. That's not a spot you want to take a hit because you know, you're going to have to deal with some things in 8-2. You're going to want to grab the power up in 8-2, but you really want to make sure you have power up, hopefully Fire Flower for 8-3 with the Hammer Brothers, but at minimum Mushroom, but it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for him here. So if Sport can get through this cleanly and Roopert maybe has a mistimed death, then this game is not over. So that's certainly not what Roopert wanted to see there.
No, that was definitely a worst case scenario next to dying. There's not many power-ups in World 8 to begin with.
Yeah, so he gets the one in 8-2. The one in 8-3, there's a couple in 8-3, but both of them are near the Hammer Bros sections, and he's going to have to be very careful here. Okay, he gets past that section, which is the toughest section. He's going to play the safety strategy, and he is on to 8-3, avoiding the 326. That's 326, the 6 in the ones digit. Would give him 6 fireworks. That would cost him 3 more seconds. So nice job recognizing that he was almost going to get the 6 and slow down to get the 5 in the ones digit of the timer.
Yeah, he was very careful to not lose that time, and he was also very careful to keep that. He definitely wanted it for here.
All right, and he got through that first Hammer Brother section. Scary. Decides not to get the extra power up, but he can take a damage if he needs to, as he does there. But thankfully, he had that power up to get through it. So now he is an 8-4 as Small Mario only. One bad cheap
pretty
cheap.
Strong at.
Yeah, he's pretty strong at. But you can there's some RNG that can happen with cheap cheeps, and also one slip up is. And I mean, we're all human, so never know what's going to happen. But Roopert looking pretty comfortable right now. Spork, meanwhile, in 8. Got his Fire Flower, having a nice SMB1 so far. All right, Roopert reveals the hidden block, and now into the turnaround room. That's because, oh my god, he almost got cheap. That was close.
I think in a race situation, scary cheap cheeps aside, he is more comfortable as Small Mario because most of his racing experience has been small only. He only went to Fire Strats during the SMB1 Warpless tournament last year.
Yeah, that's true. All right, final room. Gets over the Hammer Brother. And Bowser not playing nice. But Roopert is through and finishes with a time of about 36:46 or so. So
36:48.
Yeah, so get your GGs out for Roopert. Meanwhile, let's all encourage Spork to finish strong here. He is only 2 levels behind, so pretty close race. You know, and
very solid performance from both runners.
Oh, absolutely. And Spork, his PB is 37:27, so he's not on PB pace, but he's still really close to his PB time. So that's a very strong run from Spork as well.
Yeah, especially given some of the calamity that befell him during this race.
And speaking of calamity,
oh no, I'm so sorry.
he was having such a strong SMB1. No, I was just complimenting him on how well he was playing, and he is playing very well. But I feel like we both cursed him there. We'll both take the blame for that one.
Sorry, Spork.
I think Roopert's probably going to join us here in just a little bit to discuss his race. But meanwhile, Spork getting through the Hammer Brothers section of 8-3 without taking a hit. So he will have Big Mario going into the final level here. So one more level to go for Spork in his tournament. And this was a second chance bracket matchup. So this is a double elimination tournament. So unfortunately for Spork, he will be in his final level of the tournament here. Roopert will move on to face GT Ace. So that'll be an interesting matchup between GT Ace and Roopert. Certainly, I think Roopert has a couple stronger games in this than Ace does, and then Ace has a couple stronger games than Roopert does. So it should be a pretty even matchup, I think, between those two. Meanwhile, Spork turnaround room, nice turnaround. Doesn't get any bad.
Another close cheap. Close.
Yeah, close, but not too bad, I guess. They're never that bad if you are able to avoid them. So that's.
Ooh, gets hit by that firebar.
Horseshoes and hand grenades. Yeah, takes firebar hit there, but that's okay because he's got the mushroom that allowed him to take that hit over the hammer bro. Okay, and
plays it safe, kills it smart.
Time for Elder Spork 39-16. Not too bad at all. Very nice run for Spork. Just a couple spots there were the difference between the two runners. So let's see if we can get these two in for interviews. I know Spork before the race mentioned he was all set for interviews. Thought Roopert might be. Oh, I need to mark them done. Oh, my thing.
This one's on you.
Well, the control site is not loaded, so. I don't know what to do. It's just says it can't be reached.
Oh no.
Yeah, it timed out about halfway through, so I don't know what to do.
They got us.
Yeah, they're getting us here. So they'll be in interviews with us in a second, but I was trying to figure out how to mark them done, but I mean I know how to, but the site can't be reached right now. There we go. I can now mark them done.
Right.
All right, they're both marked done. I just had to reload the site. It was just got the spinning wheel for a while. All right, looks like we have Roopert in here. Roopert, congratulations. I think you had a time of like 30:48 in SRL. How was your run?
It was. I had a few silly mistakes here and there. Yeah, my final time was right around a 36:48. My timer or my foot pedal stopped working apparently. But it was. I had a few silly mistakes, but overall it was fairly solid. I had that thing that happened in the World 8 Fortress.
That's right.
So can we ask about the choice of Luigi and 1-1 for SMB2?
Pretty much that's still a relatively quick way to get through that level if you're not trying to do the vine clip, or at least on this version anyway. If you're going for the vine clip, you typically go with Mario, but Luigi's still relatively fast because you don't have to do any charge jumps and things like that. So it's just it's usually a pretty solid choice for that level.
And we also have the Elder Spork in here. Spork, good run, time of 13, and you were pretty close to your PB up until that death. I think it was an 8-3 of SMB1. A little behind PB pace, but not too far off of it. So got to be pretty pleased with that run.
Yes and no. 3 hands in SMB3. There's nothing you can do about that.
Exactly.
Lost levels has just been a cruel mistress to me lately. And 4-4, that first fireball there, I could have been a little more patient and avoided. But that second fireball, when it goes over the top of the brick, roopert83, you guys know there's nothing you can do.
That's right.
I'm sorry, which level? 4-4?
4-4
levels. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty tricky.
So I thought I had the setup right to try to get that fireball go under the brick, but it wasn't in the cards for me today.
It's certainly more tricky on the All-Stars version on the boxes, but definitely on the All-Stars version a lot tougher there. Penny and I were talking about how the All-Stars version versus the FDS or the NS version of these games throw some different challenges. What was, for each of you, what was your most challenging part of the speed run that you felt today? Like whether it was a particular game or a particular level or part of a level?
I felt like across all 4 of the games, I felt like I'd perform pretty similar across all of them. I had some good spots and some. I feel like I had a few silly mistakes in all 4 of them. I've ran off the edge of the platform at the end of 8-3 on lost levels, and I jumped into the 1-tile gap in the World 8 Fortress on SMB3 and little stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, SMB3 has always been my toughest game. It's also just the P-speed aspect of it, trying to maintain it, go through that. It's the one I've spent the least amount of time with. As far as it goes, I primarily run All-Stars, so I'm a lot more comfortable with the 16-bit variants than I am with the 8-bit ones. I do have lost levels in SMB 1 times established, but not as much as into it as I am with All-Stars.
One other question I had was, so of course you guys chose to start with SMB3 and then go on to 2U. Talk a little bit about the decision of starting with SMB3 versus going chronological, and then as a corollary to that, because of the hands that come with SMB3, were you either of you aware of where the other one was?
I wasn't. No, I didn't have it pulled up, so I had pretty much no clue the entire time. I run in this order when I'm just doing regular attempts, and pretty much asked Spork which order he wanted to run them in. He said this order, so that's what we decided with there.
Yeah, typically, and again, I wasn't watching Rupert at all. I don't pull up the other race while I'm watching it. I feel that adds a little bit extra pressure that I don't need in my life at that moment. But with reverse chronological order, especially, just kind of how I started doing it, you'll see a lot of PB attempts will start with SMB3 just because you could be on world record pace, and if you get 3 hands, it's gone no matter what. So just something that I normally run, Rupert normally runs it. It's a little bit more familiar to us. I know chronological order tends to be the easier one to follow for the casual viewer, but definitely with us having a more comfortable order to go in that we both agreed with, helped us probably put on a better race, better exposition of the game.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys would be keeping track of each other, just because the hands, you would lose. You could lose up to a minute just based off of bad luck with the hands. So I didn't know if either of you were planning on keeping track of the other, just because then you could see, how many you got, but then you could be like, oh well, if he also got 3, or he also got 0, or he got 0 and I got 3, then I need to be a little more aggressive or less aggressive type thing. So I didn't know if that came into play as well, or if it was just PB comfort. So makes sense.
I feel like if I keep tabs on on my opponent, then sometimes I feel some extra pressure, and sometimes I feel like I make decisions that I normally wouldn't and probably shouldn't, and so I generally just pretty much just try to play my game and hope I come out having a good run at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I got fortunate taking the death in the 3rd hand, getting 3 hands and be able to skip over it. But yeah, no, if I'm watching my opponent and I see that they're ahead, I'm going to start playing a lot more aggressive, probably get dumber, so to speak, throughout the idiot bosses for some of the stupid things that I try to do in attempt there. But I will say for you, Takate, when I was in 8-4 and lost levels, as I was going through the pipe to the final room, I said out loud, Takate love, come on, Bruce, and he was good to me.
That's right. We know Bruce wanted the Tingles love, but because he favored Rupert. He favored Spork and not Rupert.
Yeah, I got forward Bruce and forward Bowser. That's something you don't see a lot, especially in a no reset run. So that much I was happy with, and an otherwise disappointing lost levels run.
We were really cheering for you.
So Rupert, you go on. Spork, unfortunately, that's the end of the tournament. But Rupert will be facing GT Ace. This is going to be an interesting matchup, I think, because I know GT Ace has a couple of... So Rupert has the better PB right now, but I know GT Ace has been working on his game a little bit, and I think it's probably fair to say GTA has a couple stronger games than Rupert, and Rupert probably has a couple stronger games than GTA in this speed run. So probably going to be a pretty good match. What do you guys think?
I'm going to say it right now. GTA's can sit there and talk all he wants. He is a closet Super Mario All-Stars fan. He just won't admit it, all right? He talks so much how he hates this game, how he hates this run, but he is a closet All-Stars fan. I'm just going to say that right now.
It's so true. Rupert, how do you feel about that race going into it?
I mean, I do agree with Tecate, and he's probably well, since he's he hasn't played a lot of SMB2 and SMB3, so I probably am stronger at those two games than he is, but he's probably a little stronger than I am with 1 and lost levels. So it should be a pretty interesting matchup. I feel like it's like I feel like even though technically I have a better PB than he does, that I do need to bring my A game for that one for sure.
Will you adjust strategies for this?
Probably not a lot. Probably the most I'd work on is just trying to clean up a few things I made. Well, some of the things that happen in my run are things that don't generally happen, like like that Fort in World 8. Yeah. That was I was trying to do like a little turn back, and I turned back too far and I ended up in the pit there at the beginning. And then the P switch, when I hit the P switch, somehow it like killed my P speed, and I couldn't make it to the door at the end in time, which was really weird, and I've never had that happen before. Not in the fashion that happened. So, and then I just need to do some runs and things like that. Just try to stay fresh and as far as going toward that.
Certainly, I think that'll be a really good matchup between you two. But I'm out of questions. Penny, you have any others?
No, I think that's it.
Spork, any last words as far as a runner in this tournament for you? I know you got a lot of commentary that you like doing, and I'm sure you'll be doing some more of that, but how did you feel about this tournament overall?
This tournament is amazing. Anybody who knows me, who's been in my stream, who's talked to me, understands how much All-Stars means to me. This is my absolute favorite game to run. It's just an honor to be with some of these top runners in here. It's always a blast. I don't get to race Rupert that often. Just to be able to race him was absolutely amazing. I can't wait to go back and watch this race. I'm going to be a little disappointed to see where I went wrong that kind of cost me this, but it's something that you just have to go with the nature of the beast. As far as commentary, hopefully I'll be able to do some other tournaments. I do have things IRL that are coming up that might prevent me, but as always, I love doing these speed gaming tournaments. I love doing the commentary for them. It's always a blast to do. I am looking forward to the rest of this tournament. There are some really, really good runners that are left in.
And speaking of speed gaming, it's going to do it for tonight's programming, but tomorrow, it looks like at 9 a.m. Eastern time, they have Mega Man 9 tournament match between Conster and Sorrentians. So you guys are waking up to that, and that'll be a really good one to watch. So I really like watching Mega Man 9. So that is what I will be waking up to, and I hope you all join up Speed Gaming as well for that. So as far as this tournament, we don't have anything scheduled yet, but we are in the second round of the second chance bracket. It'll be Rupert versus GTAce. There's also Revelite versus Royale T in that part of the bracket. We also have YMGC, our number 1 seed, and LK 431, our 3 seed, awaiting the winners of those matches in the second chance bracket. And in the semifinals of the winners bracket, we have Mars versus ZZZ PC, and the winner of that will be awaiting the winner of the second chance bracket. So those two, Mars and ZZZ, are one match away from the grand championship. So we'll get those matches scheduled up soon. And again, tune in 9 a.m. for some Mega Man 9 right here on Speed Gaming. So twitch.tv/speedgaming. Other than that, we're going to wrap it up here. So for Penny, Play with Penelope, aka Penny, I am Tecate, and once again, GG's to you, Elder Spork, and to you, Rupert.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
See ya.